Hello. In this video, we will talk about the size product and how do we configure the products for size segment in CapSim Capstone simulation. This is for round one. We are trying to configure the product, and as we previously used a spreadsheet for every other product segments, we will use the same. So here, as you see, the ideal position is the most important one. So we will carefully try to cater that to the customer. Age of 1.5 is really important. So this makes a lot of decision for the customer. Price is not such a significant aspect. However, we have to keep it within the range. So charging a lower price will not give you as much of a competitive advantage. Rather, trying to put it in the right spot in the ideal position will give you an edge. Similarly, maintaining the age pretty close to 1.5 is what is going to give you an edge, and trying to give them as high possibility, as high an MTBF you can give. That's another thing. So here, what is the specs that are required? 4.7 and 9.6 is what the customer wants. Okay, so 4.7, 9.6, recalculate. So that's putting us towards the end of the year. This is not good. That means you will be selling the older version of the product until the end of the year, until the 29th December. That means you lost most of the sales for the throughout the year. So we got to manage this expectation. Another thing that we also want to look at is MTBF. What do they want? They want between 16,000 and 21,000. Here we have 16,000. It's pretty close to the high end. So now if you alter this, this will further, the revision date will further go backwards or further. I mean, in the sense it will spill closer to December or even the next year. So therefore, let's not change this for this moment. So the biggest part change was here. It was about 11.0, I believe, 4.0 and 11.0 was the initial specs, what was there. So 4.0, so we increased this by 0.7, and this we've reduced by over 1.4. So that was a significant difference. So let's see if we can actually make this 10. And see where we are. We are in third quarter still, so that's not so bad compared to where we were. Let us assume we can downgrade a little bit of this and increase a little bit of this. So we'll see where we are. So this is in August. So I would say, this is a reasonable adjustment, or you can actually make these adjustments as you go. Now, the next thing to actually look at is material costs. We've increased our material costs by about close to 38 cents. So, as you see, the price range keeps coming down. So you got to be careful about that one last. And then here, when you actually look, the age is the second most important criteria. That's why we are focusing so much on that here. So unlike what we did here and here, so 2.6 to 3.2 was the age, and then it was cut in half. So it was about 1.6 going towards 2. This is pretty decent, I would say. You can't do more than that. All you can alter is maybe 3.1, and then, going further next round, this will be much more closer. This is 1.6 to 2. So it's starting at an age 0.1 away from what they want and starts to drift away. So you want it probably next round is going to be about 2.4. So you can actually land it right in the middle where it's passing through 1.5 in the middle of the year. So that would be great. So again, please remember, this is over a period of 6 years, not just one round, 1 year. You have to plan these for over a period of time. So this looks decent to me. So now let's proceed to pricing and forecasting. So they're willing to pay $33.50. Sorry, $34.50 to $24.50 to $34.50, because they're not so price sensitive. Let's charge $34.50 here. Recalculate on that. Now let's look at the spreadsheet to see, as I said, $34.50 to, okay. So now let's look at the parity demand is what they're actually looking at. So round one, parity demand is 391. Let's again take the safe side because this is still round one. So this is 1.1, so 10% more, that's about 450, 430 is what we are projecting. So let's assume you say 430. Okay, so now we have this. So now let's move on to promotions and sales. First, we need to calculate the revenue here. Um, okay, so the revenue is going to be promotions and sales max, promotions and sales minimum. So we are saying we're going to be charging $34.50. We are still assuming that everything we forecasted is going to sell. Okay, and then trying to identify 10% of this and trying to figure out the 5% of this. So the maximum that you are going to be spending is about $1,500, so the minimum is about $750. So let's see what we can accomplish here. Okay, so let's start with zeros here. So since we've set it up all at zero, so we're going to be starting, we will start a gap at $30 or size product at $30 for 30.48% awareness and accessibility about 28. Last round, we had about 41.8% of accessibility. So let's begin to see what works here. Okay, a size is fair. Okay, so this is a small segment, size is poor. Okay, and this is for size. This is good. Let's say 500. Email size is good. That's 600. And trade shows is poor, so we don't need to worry about that. Print media was fair. Direct was poor. So even if we put half of this, or let's say 200 here, we are exceeding the entire budgets for promotion. We are almost reaching entire budget of promotions and sales. So what we could do is cut down 100 here. So let's say cut down by, yeah. Okay, so we're close to 50%. Now let's see where should we put this 100? And is it even justified to put it there? Yeah, it's not changing very much, so I think it would be much more judicious to actually put that $100 here rather than actually putting the $100 there. So as you see, it exceeds 50%. We started with about 30%. Now we are about 50%. That's pretty good for this particular segment. Now let's figure out, because this is pretty close to half of the budget that we actually have. More than half the budget that we actually have. So now let's figure out size. So the highest impact is outside sales, inside sales is medium, and distributors is low. So we're starting off with 28%. So if you remember, it costs $125,000 per, and 12 is the maximum. That's the high impact one. And the medium impact is this. So let's start off with, this is 12 maximum. Let's say we'll put about 5 in here. So that costs about $625,000 or $625. That puts it about 42%. Okay, so now we have this. So it's cost about 50,000 and 30 is the maximum. So we have about, I would say, less than $200. That's about 4. But let's put as 4 here because let's allocate the resources adequately. So that's putting us about 46%. We should be satisfied with that, given the small budget that we have, given the size of the segment. So now let's proceed with the production decision here. Okay. So we are projecting to sell 430 and we have 62 units. So this is inventory. Yeah, we have 62. So production, that's going to be This is actually forecast. So 368 is what we need to produce here. So 368. Okay, we're losing four units as a part of quality control defective units. So let's add that back here. And those additional 4 units, that's 372. That puts us 368 here, which matches our number here. So we are pretty good in there. So production. Now let's decide what to do with, say, if you actually see we are still lower than the benchmark 36 that we have. So we got to be careful with that. So, we spend judiciously on promotions and sales. We'll see where we land with that in terms of net margins. So 600, so 368. So let's look at parity demand. By the end of round 6, you need 906 units of production. So also R&D requirements are high. We are already producing it pretty late in the year. So let's not add to any more automation because that slows down your R&D process. So here what we'll tend to do is, should we add capacity or remove capacity? This depends on what your projections are. One of the things that you're actually seeing is, because you're selling at the parity demand, your revenue generation is low, and therefore you're only able to spend so much on your promotions and sales, and you're constrained by budget. If you want to sell a larger volume, you could in the future rounds, and that means you need to hold on to your capacity. If you're not intending to sell a larger volume, then you can sell some of the capacity. For now, for the convenience, don't increase automation here is what I would say, at least at this stage, because your R&D slowed down. You're already bringing in the late third quarter, your product. It would be much more delayed. So that means you're not going to be competitive enough. Unless you start a brand new product here, I would not suggest doing, increased automation. So here, what we conclude this here with your size product. Now let's upload our decisions, official decisions, and then go to our pro forma to actually check income statement. So we are making a decent amount of profit here, or the net margin, I would say. So $2 million. So that's adding to our overall $10.8 million profit. So net profit. So that's pretty good, I would say. So that concludes our size product. I hope you have got information enough to proceed with your own strategy on size product. Thank you.